All right, guys. We're going live streaming today. So this is really our second time Energy First Golf live streaming, and I really want to start out with again from the last time we talked about, because the coronavirus. There's a lot more stuff going on with golf. There's a lot more Facebook groups, which is great. You know, people talk about golf tips, golf lessons. You know, there's Tiger Woods fan clubs and, you know, Rory McIlroy fan club, which is great. This is great. But I mean, before I answer any questions, really today I want to talk about club fitting. You know, I hear a lot of people talk about club fitting. The truth is, club fitting is kind of important, but it only matters if you actually have a consistent body movement. Meaning, you know, if your swing is consistent, are you able to repeat a lot of swing mechanics? Now, if you're hitting the ball, meaning if you're actually, your purpose of looking at the ball, you say, hey, there's my ball, I'm going to make contact, chances are your movement may not be very consistent. Now, I know a lot of people from all the groups, I see a lot of people, the truth is most amateurs, you have a tendency, or you have a consistency, quote unquote, a consistency of a fade ball. It means you're going from left to right. Because a lot of amateurs, if you are a hitter, if you're arm swingers, chances are a lot of times you are going to go from sort of outside in or inside in. Those are the swing path, because you got a lot more controlling of the arms. Now again, then the question is, can I get fitted because of that movement? Sure you can. But here's the problem, is that it's almost like a sports car. Wouldn't you agree you have to figure out what type of horsepower, what type of energy, what type of output this car is going to put out? And so you're going to optimize whatever's around it, like whatever it's on top of the car, meaning the shots, the transmission, according to what? According to the horsepower. But if you're hitting the ball, means if your movement is purely based on contact, believe me or not, that horsepower changes. Okay? That horsepower changes all the time. Alright? So hold on a second. I'm going to turn the keyboard a little bit lower. Because, there we go. So, if the energy and the power is always changing because your contact point, then it's actually very difficult for you to fit the spec, because your power level is always changing. Okay, and that's one of the metaphors I can use. But now I know a lot of it. The truth is, a lot of you know, seniors, and they have a very consistent movement, because when you get to a certain age, chances are if you hit the ball, you're not going to power the ball. So there are a lot of senior players that actually has a very smooth movement. But if you try to add a little bit more juice, sort of from the outside, or try to hit the ball a little bit harder, it also changes. I mean, the reason why I'm telling you guys all of this is because from my experience, a fitting process is actually very, very difficult. It never feels right until you recognize the correct energy. It means you recognize the correct energy output and then the release. Because a lot of times if you use this for energy, there's always contradiction. So fitting process, I mean, a lot of you know, really the fitting process is actually very difficult for most fitters and most people who go through fit. Okay, now again, there's always this facade, means how much money you pay for it, you know, you have to feel good about it. You know, I mean, the fitting process is always, in my honest opinion, it's kind of like emperor's clothes halfway, you know. So my recommendations for everybody, if you want to go out there and fit it, you know, really try to understand how much do you understand your golf swing? Like how much do you understand your swing mechanics? It doesn't have to be perfect. It means how much do you recognize your swing mechanics and what type of output of energy that you're producing. Okay? And the truth is, I truly believe for amateurs, like, you know, obviously if you're 70s players, you're scratch players, you have an easier time to fit. But obviously if someone who has low club head speed, you know, you'll definitely use what? Softer shaft, lighter shaft. Okay? Now, the next question would be, well, if I'm a beginner, if I just started playing golf, right? If I just started playing golf, what am I supposed to do? Well, my recommendation for you would be just go out there and get one club. If you go to, you know, really, there's tons of places. If you go to any old driving range or just driving range, you can say, hey, I want to just buy one club, maybe a 6-iron. And I highly recommend for any guys, you know, if you anywhere from 16 to really late 40s, you can get a regular shaft to start out with and everything standard. Okay? Because there's a lot of clubs in the golf range, demo place. Sometimes they might even give you for free. Just ask. Say, hey, I want to get one club. Because when you just started playing golf, your body movement is more important than you try to hit the ball hard or try to make contact. You know, watch our channel, start from episode first, very first one, understand what we mean by energy first golf. It means don't worry about hitting the ball. Just because you're hitting the ball, just because the ball is going somewhere, it doesn't mean you have the correct energy. If you don't have the correct energy, don't even think about you're going to have any type of consistency. Okay? And don't think about anything that you say, hey, I'm going to have control over the ball. As you all know, I don't preach consistency. I preach you as a player understand what is the correct control of the golf ball, not consistency. So, you know, fitting is always going to be some kind of mystery for most guys if you don't have a sort of swing movement, you know, because it will never feel like it's a fulfilling process. The reason why I say that is because, again, I have a lot of experience with my clients or just over here, people talk about fitting. It's always sort of a mystery. You know the reason why is because there's just too many options. And there's just way too many options. I mean, if you look at the shaft companies, I mean, there's at least, I mean, I can off my head, there's like 20 different companies. It's just for shafts. So, like I said last time when we did the live stream, as far as equipment-wise, in the long run, I would like to see the whole entire world only maybe have 1 to 3 golf equipment companies. That's it. I believe it will make the game better. So, and also talk about equipment, and who knows, maybe in the future we're gonna have equipments, full golf equipments, and because we have actually, we have a belt here, our belt, and also we have our gloves. Where's our gloves? There you go. We have our gloves. So we're working towards that. Understand, full golfs means energy first, impact later. We try to establish which our goal is to be a one package for everything. All right. So I talked about a little bit about fitting. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. Email us. If you say, hey, you know, I want to hear your opinion about my fitting, you know, and what is my swing looks like. We do swing analysis, and you know, you give me the numbers like your swing speed, your smashing factors, your club head path, your attack angle, and all those, and you know, I'll make some recommendation. All right. So Jason, do we have any questions right now?
Yeah, we do. Before we jump into the question, I just want to say hi and wish everyone stay safe under the. Can they hear me or?
Yeah, I just turned it up a little bit louder. Yep.
Okay, yeah, I just switched to my laptop, so I won't use my mechanical keyboard, which
Oh,
is super loud.
because earlier I hear his keyboard going. I was like, okay. Good call. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, no problem. I just want to say everyone stay safe out there. I know this is not gonna last forever, but I think everything will rebound once the virus slows down.
Yes.
And as far as the question, I'm really glad that you talk about golf fitting because we actually have a question from Patrick asking about what type of wedge club a beginner should use. And he's asking, is there any brand recommendation? And I just want to ask one more question, maybe you can answer after that, is should a beginner get a golf fitting? Like, I know a lot of people, I know like people like my dad, you know, a lot of people like when they start in golf, they want to get the best stuff. Like they want to get like a club that fit them so that they can, you know, learn better or whatever. So should beginner do that? And also answer Patrick's question, do you have a wedge recommendation for beginner?
Okay, so there's two questions. One, let's answer really the easier question first. We already do those 14 clubs in the bag. Okay, we've got 14 clubs in the bag for regulations. And earlier I actually mentioned for beginners, you really are just beginners. You don't have a club, you don't have a set of club. The very first thing you can do, like I say, just go out there and get one iron, which is 6 iron or 7 iron. And preferably a regular flex for men, for guys. If it's a lady, see, lady is going to be a little bit harder. But also, lady, if you're a lady, I would recommend you just go out and get a very generic set. You know, it says ladies flex. And the truth is, ladies clubs are actually relatively compared to men's club, they're a little bit more inexpensive. So you can get a set like a Wilson, Top Fly, Callaway. They make a whole set with a bag, and it usually comes from anywhere from 10 to 12 club, which is great because I got my mother-in-law a set back in when Adams Golf before TaylorMade took over. So it got the whole set, 12 clubs. We got driver, we got hybrids, and you got everything, and the putter for lady. So if ladies go on there, get the beginner set, I would just highly recommend get the whole set. Comes with 10 to 12 clubs. And also make sure, you know, obviously, you want to make sure it's lady flex. But for guys, the first option would be just go out there and get one club. And I would recommend to do that practice that for maybe 2 to 3 months. Assuming you're working on the correct stuff, the correct foundation. Now, if you do go, hey, you know, I have the money, you know, my birthday's coming up, my girlfriend, my wife, or my parents want to give me a set of clubs, okay? And then I would recommend you get a set of irons only from 5 iron to a gab wedge. Usually a gab wedge may be an AW. It's stated for 5 to gab wedge. A set of irons. For guys, definitely get regular shaft. If you're a beginner, always get a regular shaft. Okay. And if you have extra money, save the money. Don't use money to buy anything else. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You don't need to get a putter yet. I would just spend the first 2 to 3 months work on your swing mechanics. Okay. So now remember, if you get a 5 to gab wedge, means PW or AW or GW, depending on the company. I know Ping likes to use the word GW, which is gab wedge. So you're going to already have 2 wedges, means the PW and AW. Okay. So if you have those 2 wedges, remember earlier Patrick asked me for beginners what type of wedges we need to get. That's it. You don't need to get any other wedges. Just those 2 wedges. Comes with the 5 iron to gab wedge. Okay? So 5 iron to gab wedge. Pitching wedge and gab wedge. Now remember, if you say that, hey, my father has a set for me, it's kind of passed down. Well, take it, because it's a set of golf clubs. And then, to answer Patrick's second question as for wedges, what a beginner should get, assuming you already have a set, then I would just highly recommend you use whatever the wedges comes with the set. Okay? Now, if you do say that, what if I must get a wedge? So I would highly recommend you get a wedge that's 56 degrees, sand wedge. Just get one, and make sure it's about 10-degree bounce angle. 10-degree bounce angle is right in the middle. Okay, just sort of right in the middle. Okay, so 56, 10 degrees. Now, also as far as the shaft, you can absolutely get they comes with a stock shaft. Okay, you can get the stock shaft. All right, so that's as far as the wedges. If you say, hey, I must get a wedge to fit in what I have at home, or I have some hand-me-downs, or you say, hey, I got the 5 to gap wedge, I want to have another wedge, then I would definitely recommend you get the 56-degree sand wedge with a 10-degree bounce. But make sure you get stock shaft right now, because there's certain wedges, nowadays they come in with a lot of stiffer shafts. So I wouldn't recommend that for beginners. Alright? So hopefully that answers your question. Alright, Jason, do we have another question?
Yeah, so the last part of Patrick's question is, do you have any brand recommendation?
The brand recommendation. Well, the truth is, it really, right now at this point, Energy First Golf, we're not sponsored by anybody, so I'm free to say whoever the brand. The truth is, my honest opinion, all the brands are good. Callaway, Titleist, TaylorMade, Cleveland, they're all good. If you really want me to recommend it, I will probably recommend, start out with Callaway wedges and Cleveland. Okay, but again, the reason why I say that is because I use those wedges right now. So I have Callaway wedges, but really, if you want to get Titleist, you can. If you want to get TaylorMade, you can. But also, a lot of times, remember, getting clubs a lot of times has to do with your personal preference too. Like, what type of irons you have. Do you want to match the brand? If I already have Titleist irons, do I want to match the Titleist wedges? So those things you kind of come into play also, right? But I mean, if you really want to ask me as far as my favorite to my least favorite, it would be Titleist, Cleveland, TaylorMade, and Callaway. I know, even though I use Callaway, but I would, and then Ping, obviously Ping. Ping, I don't like the wedges that much. It just, I guess, not light, it's kind of strong. I never use their wedges for some reason, for no apparent reason. I love their drivers. I love Ping drivers. So it's not that they're not good wedges, but it's just the way again, everything I'm telling you now is just purely personal preference. So, but I do have Callaway wedges right now, so there you go. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, so before we jump to the next question, which is from the WeChat group, I just want to say that, we have about 20 people watching right now.
Okay, good.
And, our Alpha Golf has audience from all over the world, so just to get the chat a little bit energized, that I want people watching to leave a comment of where you are watching us, like which city or which country, leave in the chat so that we can get this chat a little bit energized. And also, I know a lot of people probably coming from the Chinese channel, so if you haven't subscribed to our English channel, please do.
Right.
And if you have any questions, anything regards golf, just leave it in the chat. So our next question comes from the WeChat group, and it's about chipping as well. I guess you kind of made a video about it already, but someone asking when to use those for chipping release.
All right, I kind of make the video, so Jason, please send that link. But
I sent a link to that person already. I just want you to probably
yeah,
explain it a little bit.
perfect. So I'm gonna do that. Let me just move the chair out of the way a little bit. All right. So the chipping release. All right. Again, I'm just gonna go through all four, and also I know a lot of you, if you watch my channel, we talked about how the pros chipped. Means pros tend to chip with a combination of all of the release kind of together. I call the pro style of chipping. Now remember, when you're dealing with chipping just on the release, the number one release is called the wine glass and dead hand. It's the most common, the dead hand release. Okay, and you can literally use really anywhere. You know, and at the same time, really, we're having dealing with, like, you know, put the ball in the forward stance. Right? Say you have a ball right now, you know, put the ball in the forward stance, dead hand, so the ball will go higher. If you put the ball back, the ball will go lower. It may have a little bit more steeper attack angle. But the dead hand and the wine glass is actually a little bit more delicate. I use wine glass in a very sort of a sticky situation. Means if the hole is very close to me and it's downhill, so I would use wine glass, and I have it's called the toe down. The toe would be down. I use wine glass like that, like a putting stroke. So that's a very delicate situation. Okay, but the dead hand means you're not doing the wine glass, your waist forward a little bit, and you do something like that with the relaxed wrist. You can pretty much use it anywhere, any situation, because a lot of times you can absolutely use dead hand with what? With an open face, right? With open face dead hand. So that's the reason why I call the number one release, is because the most common, you know. But remember, the idea is that, you know, a lot of times you guys watch channels, like different YouTube channels, they talk about, you know, open face shut, open face or open stance. Those are just what I call the playing ability. But understand the release is all the same. Means they all are dealing with a dead hand release. It's just certain players on their YouTube, they may like the ball forward. Certain players may like the ball back. So that's the reason why I remember Energy First Golf, Energy First Impact Later. We don't want to get you to we don't want you guys to get very confused. Release and formality, open face, shut face is different, okay? And those are just like, basically, the release is like a color. Whatever paintbrush you want to use, it's up to you. But obviously, you know, you got to work on it. So that's the number one release, okay? Number one release. See, number one release, right? So you can use it anywhere. Now, the hinge and roll. On the video I talked about hinge and roll is something I like to use it if I have to be aggressive. If the ball, say right now I need to chip it on top of heel, okay, where I get a little bit more run, but also same time checked. So the hinge and roll, it's a very aggressive style of chipping, and I like it because sometimes I like to be aggressive. I like to chip the ball past the hole, okay? And also the hinge and roll, and I also liked it when, you know, I mentioned in the situation where the ball is a little bit above the grass, is a little bit longer, okay? But with the hinge and roll, you can also what? You can also have the ball forward, an open face, or the ball back. So, again, but the situation usually, like I say, is a little bit more aggressive. You know, it allows you to be more, you know, not as delicate. Okay, and I do believe for a lot of times it gives me a little bit more forgiveness, because when I do this, when I do the hinge and roll, the attack angle is a little bit steeper. So it does give me a lot more forgiveness. okay? And that's one situation. And my personal favorite, which I always mention, is called the lag release. Lag release, I do use a lot of times, predominantly around like the rough, like the grass, you got the fringe and you have the rough. So I use that a lot in the rough with a lag release, okay? Now obviously lag release, the ball, will go higher, but I can use the lag release for the taller grass, when sometimes the ball is buried, okay? I will use that. And also I will probably use that, what I call the pro release, to pro chip the hinge and the turn, which is the dead hand release, but just with the turn, with the hinge. But those situations I tend to use more where the grass is a little bit longer, the ball is like halfway buried, okay? So that's the situation I would use. And also obviously the ball will go higher, so it's more of a, you can call it, that's the reason why I always tell people you can absolutely call it a lob shot, okay? But it is definitely a lag release. And if you look at Phil Mickelson, he does it very, very well. He has a lot of lag with the wrist, and so he does that all the time. He even do it when there's short grass. So it's, again, we talked about full release, but some people can only use one, or some people just like to stick with one type of release and just play around with ball position and stance, and that it will get you around in different sort of situation. Now the last one is the run release. The run release I use the less, okay? It's very little I use, but I do sometimes just for fun, or sometimes, if I have a situation with the pin on the right side, there's heel, so I like to run it. So it really depends on the position of the hole and situation. Because I could simply, if you look at the video, I simply could use an 8-iron, I could use an 8-iron, do a dead hand release, do a bump and run, or I could use a 60-degree or 54-degree, do a run release with a wedge. But remember, that has to do with the hole location. Do I like my visual to see the ball go that way? Okay, so that number 4 is tricky. So those are the 4 releases you can work on. The truth is, I highly recommend you guys work on number 1 first. And if you have time, then work on number 3, which is lag release. And then you can work on number 2. And then you can work on number 4. Alright? But again, the 1, 2, 3, you can pretty much use really anywhere. But I'm just telling you specifically the way how I like to use. Okay? So, but we would do more videos anyway. We would do just one, I would do one video just purely based on one release and put the ball in all kind of situation. So you guys will see, oh, look, he's doing that. So we will do that in the future. All right? Cool. All right, so what's the next question?
That's it. We don't have any more questions. I guess today is kind of slow. People are, I don't know. But,
yeah.
That's all right. How about this? How about, because I know a lot of people, we have our one-on-one lessons, and it seems like most beginners are struggling with release. And I don't think many golf coaches out there teach about release. So, Lawrence, why don't you talk about a little bit about release?
Okay, and that's actually, Jason, that's actually a very good question. Actually, no, that's a very good question. I actually want to talk about this. Okay. So, the way I see with golf instructions right now, this is what kind of gets me a little bit. What I mean by it gets me is that I think a lot of golf instructions, they don't think about future. They don't think about you as a student, you as a prospect. A like, are you going to improve in the long run? Okay? The reason why, again, from the last video I talked about, the live stream, I talked about how most amateurs that came to me, they have no idea what release is. The reason why they don't know is because, remember, if you're thinking about square impact position, you don't have a full release already. Okay, that's one. And two, again, I talked about how there is a rip movement, the rip, the block, and the cut. Okay? What most instructors and most instructions that I know, what they teach is that they want to make sure this beginner who just picked up a golf club make contact first. They want to make sure you make contact first. So what happens, I know this instructor, I don't remember, I don't think I say his name, last name, Mike Malaska. He's talking about this. He said, now, you as a prospect, as a student, what you do is that you go to here and turn, and make sure you turn like this, so that way you get through the ball. Okay? So, if you guys watch our channel, so let me ask you this, what do you think he's teaching you? What he's teaching you is teaching you what I call a cut or block spin. Because what he's saying to you is this. He's saying to you this. You turn your body, and you get to here, you keep turning, and don't worry about your arms turning, you just turn your body and keep turning like this, and turn through. So that is actually a block and a cut. Now, what is wrong with that approach? It's because understanding, I cannot stress this enough. FO Golf, NH First Golf, NH First, Impact Later, we want to deal with amateurs. Because if I tell you to do what Mike's telling you, guess what's going to happen with your arms? Because you are thinking about the face being square to the ball, you will get very tense and very controlled with your shoulders and your arms. You're not going to turn your body. So most people, when I see when they do that, all they're doing is doing shoulders. Because that's all they're thinking about. Is that image. That's one. And two, I'm going to give you a side view. If you are doing that image, if you are doing this image, I know a lot of my viewers already know, guess what kind of path, what kind of finishing path you're doing. Meaning, if I'm doing this image right now, what kind of path you're doing? Yes, you have guessed it. You're doing an inside path. I mean, OMG, oh my God, man. I mean, you're doing an inside path. Guess what the inside path do to the ball? It cuts the ball. It slices the ball. If you don't have center speed when you get through. The reason why you don't have center speed is because you're thinking about the contact point. You never worry about how you turn your body. Most tour players do that. It's because they already have what? I keep saying to you guys this. Because most tour players do it because they have what? Correct energy. They know how to turn their body. But most amateurs, if you started playing golf as a beginner, as an adult, you don't know how to turn your body. You know how to use your two-dimensional movements. This movement right here, this movement will be a dominant movement. So your path is always going to go inside. So you're always going to what? Slice. But what Mike doesn't understand is that he just thinks that if you can hit the ball, he thinks that if you can make contact, if you can get the ball left to right and you can play golf.
sorry to interrupt. Someone just messaged me. Are you talking about the Mike Bender Golf?
No, his name's my Bender. My Bender. He's the guy. My Bender. He does a stack and tilt. I'm talking about my Alaska.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but again, what he was just a name popping in my head. But I know most instructors actually teach that, because remember I told you guys this. Most instructors, the whole golf industry, they don't really know how to make an amateur. The important thing is control the ball. Control the ball correctly. They're telling you that, oh, hey, if you can hit the ball, if you can make contact, great. You ready to go play golf? The reason why I'm saying that to you, because again, I have a lot of students, I see that all the time, and nobody's improving, and nobody's getting better. Yeah, you can still hit the ball miles, you can still hit the ball very far, but guess what always ask me? What people always ask me? Man, I want to be more consistent. I say, no, you don't want to be more consistent because you don't know how to control the ball. That's the problem. And then their instructors really saying, I'm telling you, I'm not making this up. They're saying, man, look at that, you hit a nice fade ball. Look at that, you hit a nice fade ball. Why don't you just aim more left and make sure the ball goes to the right? And then you can play golf. But guess what that amateur is saying to himself? I don't want that because I don't think that's good control. Now remember, why do you think he doesn't have a good control? It's because this amateur is doing what Mike Alaska is telling him to do. But the problem is that he's doing it with the arms. He's not doing it like what Rory McIlroy is doing. Rory McIlroy is doing it with the body rotation. That's the difference. That is the difference. So that's another reason why, Jason, trust me, that's another reason why most people don't know what the hell is release. Like most people don't know what release is. Because all they think about is trying to make contact, and then the arms goes way inside. The arms goes way inside. Because I see that every day. I mean, I do swing analysis every day. I mean, I see that all the time. Because one, you as a human, you would do that anyway because you try to make contact. So your sensitivity coming from your right side. And then you have an instructor or instructions telling you to do that, you're going to be doing more. Why do you think, okay, why do you think you got all, like I mentioned before, why do you think you got all this driver out there? All this high technology driver, I have a driver that's $500 with a change hosel, adjustability. People still slice. People still slice. It's because the instructions are messed up. Because the instructions based on you as an amateur, we want to make sure you can hit the ball and we're good. No. We at Energy First Golf, we don't want you to just hit the ball. We want you to learn this game and you can learn it and understand it so you can benefit and you can enjoy the game for the longest time. The reason why I'm saying that to you, because I got guys coming to see me in their late 50s, in their early 60s, sometimes even their 70s. They say, man, I still slice. I still coming from the top. I'm like, Sam, Mike, you don't really have a golf swing mechanics. You're just hitting the ball. I mean, the frustration is that I'm not, to be honest with you, when I look at a prospect, I'm like, okay, I usually tell people the truth. I say, you're hitting the ball. You're arm swingers. And I rarely say that you're body swingers. Because most people don't. And that's another reason why Jason said, yeah, most people don't know how to release. Release just means this club's designed because this is heavy, so when you turn and when you swing, the club's turning. The club is turning. The club has to turn because it's heavier. So you're telling a beginner to hold the face like this and make sure your body can turn so it gets to this position. That's not a full release because you don't have a coherence of an energy that's fully developed. Because this amateur is just going to be what? Controlling this golf club. But Mike Alaska never talked about, oh, I don't think you have the correct energy. Because why? He's assuming you have the energy already. Because a lot of guys come in here, man, look at me, man, I got the guns, man. I can hit the ball. Yeah, you can hit the ball, but doesn't mean you have consistency. It doesn't mean you have control. And then why do you think you have all this group out there? I mean, like literally, I have so many golf groups right now. Everybody's complaining. I mean, man, how can I get rid of my slice? How do I get rid of my hooks? I'm like, dude, the reason why you never get rid of it is because your instruction sucks. Whatever information you're getting is stupid. It's not right. So that's why you're confused. Because you're assuming you come in here because you work out every day, you're very fit. You know, most guys think they're very athletic. You say, hey, man, I got good energy. I already got a lot of muscles. Yeah, you can still hit the ball, but it doesn't mean you have control. I mean, sometimes you shoot. I mean, I have guys shooting 70s, and sometimes I have guys shooting 80s, and then next day they say, wow, man, I had a bad round, I shoot 89, 90. But they don't see the problem is that it's okay to shoot 70, 80, 90, back and forth. But here's the problem. They don't know why. They don't know why that day they shoot 90s. Because they go and they're saying, well, man, I hit a couple of drives OB. Well, why do you think? Then I ask them, why do you think you hit your drive OB? Ah, man, I think I pulled it. My face is open. And then I say, why do you think your face is open? They say, man, you know, I think that was a bad timing. Well, there you go. I say, well, you know, if you know how to release the club, then you wouldn't need timing though. Right? If you know how to release the club, you would not need timing to play golf. Then he goes, man, what is that? What is release? I say, you don't know how to release the club, right? So that is the problem with golf instructions. Understanding when you learn something, you got to have correct procedures. You got to have correct step by step. You cannot say, if I can hit the ball, I'm good to go. Because then you're just confused and frustrated. Okay? Because you don't know why that you shoot 90s. You don't know why sometimes you can shoot in 70s. That's a problem. Okay? That's a problem. So I think to answer Jason's question, the reason why most amateurs don't know what release is simply put, I hate to say it, you guys are just not getting the correct information from the world. You know, again, going back to watch Energy First Golf, Energy First Impact Later. That's all I can tell you. It's because we talked about release right in the beginning. Once we talked about downswing sequence, we talked about release. We talked about rotation of club. And remember, we always talk about what? Never, I couldn't say never enough, think about the club face is square to the ball. You have no time to do that. So, and then you got Mike over here talking about, oh, make sure this face is square, then you turn through. I mean, come on, man. I mean, it's really scary, man. I'm telling you, Jason, it's scary, man. I'm so fascinated. I can talk about this all day long. I can talk about this all day long. But anyway, that was to answer your question, Jason. We don't have any more questions, right?
No, we don't. But you just bring up a good question, because I've seen people asking the WeChat group and everything that they're saying that, oh, they're in their 50s, they're in their 60s, can they still get better at golf?
Perfect. That's another very good question. Okay. See, yes, you can get better in golf. Okay? Absolutely you can. Okay? The reason why I say that is because if I'm standing over here and I have a student who's 50-some years old, and there's another golf instructor standing over here, okay? So if I'm standing over here, I'm going to tell this 50-year-old, just say, almost close to 60, some golf instructions. And then I have this guy over here tells him some golf instructions. Obviously, I'm going to tell this student who's late 50s about energy first, impact later, right? So I don't know what he's going to tell him. It's up to this person. It's up to this person and this student to decide what he needs to work on. Because guess what? The very next day, he could be a 80s player, could be a 90s player, or even could be a 70s player. He's going to spend however time in the range work on either my information or his or her information. Okay? So then I always tell people, look, this was funny about golf. Golf is a lifelong game. It's really not about you getting better. A lot of times when people say getting better means they want to be consistent. Remember, if you're learning something, it's about understanding. It's really about understanding. But the problem with golf is that you actually have to understand a lot about your body. A lot. Okay? So this person is going to go spend 2 hours tomorrow in the range. And here's what's crazy about golf. People will work on stuff. People will always work on stuff. But the problem is, are you working on the right stuff or the wrong stuff? Okay? I always tell people that energy first, impact later. Energy first golf, FO golf, we don't have contradictions. We don't have a contradictions. So if you go on there and work on something that's contradict, again, if you're working on a golf swing, you don't know if you're hitting the ball or swinging. That's a problem. Because then you're just confused, and then you have contradiction. Remember, it's okay to be right, it's okay to be wrong, but you cannot be contradicting, because if you're contradicting each other, you're not going to improve. So again, the key words, can I get better? Absolutely you can get better, because you know why? What you can get better at is the mind. Your mind, your personality can get better. If your mind gets better, your personality gets better. If you have more discipline over your body, mind over the body, yes, you will get better. Okay? See, this is what makes golf so fascinating. You don't need to play on the PGA Tour. You don't need to play on a professional tour. You can get better because golf, if you learn golf correctly, energy first, impact later, I truly believe you will get better, not because you get better in golf game, but you can get better as a person, as a human being. You can get better with your health because you're going to work on the big muscles. If your personality gets better, if your mindset gets better, if you have more discipline, that will also allow you to do what? It will also allow you to relax. Okay? If you're relaxed, if your energy is correct, you will play better golf. If your mind is clear, if your mind is clean, you will play better golf because you don't need a perfect golf swing. You need perfect golf energy. But perfect golf energy, mind, body, and spirit has to work together. So yes, absolutely, you can get better as a golfer, but at the same time, you can get better as a person. That's what makes golf so great. That's what makes golf so interesting. Think about it. Think about what I just said. Okay? Because if you're 60 right now, you're not going to play on tour. Right? But you want to get better. That's the key. But how get better? Right? How do you get better? How do you get better in your mind? How do you get better with your body? How do you get better with your spirit? That's how you get better in golf. Okay? So, yeah, with energy first, impact later, because the right system, you will absolutely get better. Because I will tell you, don't worry about hitting the ball. But remember this guy right here, he might give you instructions, say, hey man, you gotta make sure you make good contact, right? Then your mind go, man, what sounds good? Man, make good contact? Or this guy, Lawrence and F Golf, energy first, that don't make contact? Man, maybe make contact sounds better. Maybe this guy sounds better. But the problem, remember, I say golf is different than anything you have played. It ain't about making contact. You can always make contact. But how many of you out there making contact already? Anyways. Right? Are you getting better? No. Right? So, that's what's so crazy about golf. Because golf is just so different than everything you have done in your life. There's no shortcut. Okay? And you don't have the energy to begin with. Okay? And your mind will always listen to what, oh yeah, I need to hit the ball in the sweet spot. I absolutely need to hit the ball in the sweet spot. There you go. Well, yeah, go ahead. You want to hit the ball in the sweet spot? You want to hit the ball in the sweet spot? You will have to do it extremely slow, right? So that's what makes golf so difficult. Because you will listen to what feels right or what sounds right to your mind. And then you always ask, can I get better? I say, well, can your mind rationalize things that people are telling you? Because there's no shortcut. We already know that. Because if the shortcut works, Golf Digest, Golf Magazine, all of those magazines will be run out of business. Because they have been doing all hundreds of years with shortcuts, with quick tips. So there you go. I mean, the truth is, for some reason, I think the golf industry, they actually want that the amateurs, like you guys, don't get good. You know why? Because you will continue to buy more equipment every year, right? And you lose your ball all the time, so you buy more balls, right? But what's funny about golf is that you got all this equipment company, all this ball company, but there's less people playing golf. There are more courses that's closing down. Why do you think that's the case? Why do you think that's the case? It's because people are not getting good. You have a whole set of clubs right now. My set of clubs right here is about what? A rough estimate is about $1,500. You got guys with the same amount of money of a whole set of clubs. They can't play. So the frustration elevates. Okay? Remember, golf is such a great game. You need only 3 golf equipment companies. You only need one type of ball, one ball company. That's it. And if you have the skill, you know how to do it, you know how to control the ball, you will have more fun. If I say that, hey Johnson, if you can shoot in the low 80s every round you go out there, would you care about what clubs you use? Heck no, I wouldn't care what club I use. If I can shoot low 80s all the time. Hey, again, it's not from my mouth, it's from actual person who's telling me that. So, golf's reality. There's a true reality what this game is. Okay? And get down to basics, understanding what is real for golf. Okay, but I do believe, what's funny about this COVID-19, actually, I honestly believe it's starting changing. It's getting to a wave, things are starting moving a way where it's just correct, it's about understanding, because people are searching for answers. Okay, so again, with us and its first golf and its first impact later, we will continue. We want to make sure everyone enjoys playing golf. When I say enjoy, it means yes, you get better in the mind, the heart, and the body. You get better, and you have more fun. You will play bad rounds, okay, but at least you know why you play bad rounds. Okay, that is the important thing about a correct learning system. It's going to offer you that, because we are not going to contradict. We're not going to put in information in your mind where it's confusing. Okay, so that's Jason asked a very good question. So.
All right. So next follow-up question from Patrick says, "It's very true. Body and arm rotation are key to golf control, speed, and direction." And he says, "Oftentimes I forgot arm rotation. Is there any tricks or other than just more practice?"
Well, the truth is, Patrick, that's a very good question. Now, Patrick, remember, if you watch our FO golf system and its first impact later, we talked about those 3 stages. Remember, the first stage we talked about power struggle stage. So right away, the second stage is called the speed and distance control stage. And the third stage is called the spin and trajectory. The truth is, Patrick, if you feel like right now, you say, hey, I got very good rotation from the hips and the core. Okay? I always recommend every one of you guys who's having a hard time, say, hey, I have a hard time turning the arms. Remember, you need to work on where your body rotation, there's different range of a rotation. Meaning right now, literally, okay, I'm really, in this room right here is very short. Meaning you need to work on, if you have a hard time rotating the arms, that means you're not working enough if you purify the energy. When I say purify the energy, means not just one speed. You got to have a different type of speed. So in other words, you got to start to work on second stage, speed and distance control. Now when I say speed and distance control, means you have one club. If I have a 7-iron right now, I'm not going to just hit one distance every day or all 100 balls. I'm going to try to swing with arm rotation, with all the FO golf swing mechanics. I need to work on, even with a 7-iron, I want to swing with the rotation maybe 20 yards, maybe 50 yards, maybe 60 yards, maybe 120. That's exactly what I mean by speed and distance control. Because you will need that to play golf. Believe me, you will need speed and distance control to play golf. That's exactly what I mean by when we have a system, we're very well-rounded. We deal with power struggle. It doesn't mean you're 100% is going to graduate from power struggle. You can, if you make a C, say for example, if you have algebra, if you make a C, that's a passing grade. So you can move on to the next math, which is the geometry. Right? So if you're in a power struggle, you feel like, hey, I'm still in power struggle, but you feel like you can move your body pretty good, and I would say, hey, go ahead and move on to the speed and distance control level. But when I say speed and distance control, you have to control your body when you go, okay, I understand the rotation of my hips, my core, my body, and my arms has to control distance, because this rotational speed from the body, this rotational speed has to match the distance. That's how you will get better. So understanding, guys, the game of golf, yeah, if you can hit the ball long, it's very good, but the point is you have to learn how to control distance. Hitting long is just a byproduct, okay? So that's another reason why I think a lot of mainstream instructions, they talk about, oh, yeah, today I'm going to give you 3 tips. You're going to hit your drive with 300 yards. I'm like, what's that going to do? What's that going to do for an amateur? I mean, see, again, that is wrong right there. Because you need to learn how to control distance. If you know how to control it, then you know how to maximize it. If you just maximize it, doesn't mean you know how to control it. Right? Think about it. If you're driving a car right now, if you're going to driving school right now, and the instructor go, hey, just go ahead and punch the gas. So right away you sit in the car, just go ahead and punch the gas. Are you crazy? I mean, right? You have to say, hey, I'm going to drive the car right now. The instructor will be like, okay, Patrick, go ahead and put your gas in the pedal, but don't punch it. Tap it real nice and slow. Because when you drive a car, you have to control speed. Right? You're going to go, wait a minute, I'm gonna go in the car and just punch the gas. And that car goes like that. I mean, if it's your first day learning how to drive, you're going to hit something. I mean, just think about what I'm trying to tell you guys. I mean, again, I challenge everybody who's watching Energy First Golf. I challenge people to come to me and say, hey, something wrong with your power struggle stage. That's not right. I'm telling you this, there's not one golf instruction in the world would say there's 3 stages of learning golf. You cannot jump around. You got to go one step at a time. Okay? If someone tell you, hey, I'm going to teach you how to hit 300-yard drives, I mean, you're going to be in trouble already. Look, again, I always tell everyone who's watching this channel, look, if we're contradicting ourselves, you let us know. Okay? And if you have your golf instructor or you have a friend who teaches who's a good golfer, ask them, what is their teaching system? What is the training philosophy? Again, all those information is on our website. Our system is so complete. Our system is so complete. And that's the reason why I'm confident to say that FO Golf and its first impact later is the only right way to learn golf. I mean, yeah, you can go out there and play golf, hit balls, but it doesn't mean you're learning correctly. So for Patrick, I would absolutely go out there and, I mean, in my videos, I think I do that sometimes. I will use a 6-iron, hit 50 yards. I will use a 6-iron, swing 130 yards. And sometimes I'll probably use a driver, swing 100 yards. It's because me as a player, I need to refine my energy sensitivity, my feeling, right? So that's the reason why, again, most amateurs not doing what I'm telling you guys doing. That's the reason why most amateurs don't improve. Because all you're doing is a singular, everything's singular, one motion all the time. You got to break it down. You got to say, hey, I need to have a different level of understanding of the speed. But I know a lot of people say, if I do it too slow, I'm not going to get distance. But remember, it's not about get distance. It's about how do you control distance. How do you control 300 yards? I mean, other guys can hit 300 yards. They hit 300 yards on one drive on 18 holes. They hit one, then rest the hole, the ball is nowhere to be found. They hit 300 yards, yes, but the ball cannot be found. Are you playing golf or just long drive? I mean, I don't know. You tell me. So that's what's crazy about golf. So Patrick, work on second stage, speed and distance control. If you have any questions, let us know, but watch our video, understand what that means. All right.
So I guess that's an hour mark, and we have one last question to finish off. And
okay.
I guess we can wrap this up, and we'll do this definitely more often with our English channel blowing up. I think this last question is very interesting, and it's a very beginner question. So someone from the WeChat group just asked about swing time. So he says just about 1 second take to complete the swing? Do all clubs swing at the same time frame?
Well, no, because again, that's a question. What he's saying, remember, I say that what makes golf challenges, because it doesn't matter if you swing fast or swing slow, it's still inside less than a second. But remember, I talked about how what is small? Small means, my hands, if I draw a circle here, that's pretty small. But inside that circle, the things that smaller that circle means you have bacteria, maybe virus. Thank God I don't have virus on my hands right now. Or you have atom, you have particles. They're all very small, right? And they're all so small that your eyes can't see. So that question is absolutely a good question, but a misleading question. Okay? Because I think what makes golf funny is that person is actually I can tell based on that question, that's a very intelligent question. But I believe that question, he will answer himself if he continues to learn it. Because his mind has to know how to break it down into nanosecond difference. But if that is the case, that means he understanding what? The timing of what? The output of this energy matched the distance. So in the long run, he would know that. But the truth is, if I swing the 7-iron like this, that's less than a second. If I swing very fast, that's less than a second. But how do I know the time is different? It's because I know my output of energy matches distance. But yes, but in reality, when you watch me, you say, well, they're still at less than a second. So I would recommend you not worry about the timing. Again, there's an episode I talked about there's no timing. So the truth is, if you ask that question, a lot of times, again, your human mind is going to deal with what? Timing, the impact timing. So I would recommend you not worry about the impact timing. Okay? And that's something you have to discipline your mind to work on that. Otherwise, if you're timing the impact, it's going to be very difficult, because the truth is that question is when I say timing, is because your human mind wants to time the impact. So if you time the impact, you're not going to have what? Lag, which is pretty much most amateurs don't have lag, because you timing the impact. You're not letting the energy transmit. Okay. Again, I would just continue work on the simplest. See what's funny? The simplest answer I would tell him is that don't worry about contact, don't worry about timing, only worry about your output of energy. See if you can get through the ball and recognize the distance, and also recognize your body movement, so that way you have something you can match. You see? Here's another example. If I have 3 balls right now, if I throw like this, or if I throw really fast. Again, they're all less than a second, but because my energy output, I know the distance, so that distance matches what I'm doing with my body. What makes golf difficult is exactly what I mean by energy first. You gotta have energy, so the outcome matches the energy. But if you have a hard impact, there's a distance, but the problem, remember, that energy, that power is not a correct power based on 3-dimensional world, because when you play golf in a 3-dimensional world, if you use a 2-dimensional power, it's contradicting, the output is actually contradicting on what your body's doing. That's the reason why your body will never learn it. That's what makes golf so difficult. Okay, your body has to learn. That's one of those most fascinating things about golf. Okay? Because think about it, if I have 1 billion ball right now, if I just do a two-dimensional movement, I throw the ball like this, after I throw 1 billion balls, I know how to control the distance, right? Soft, hard, long. But most people can hit 1 billion balls, but if you hit 1 billion balls, because your energy never match, you don't know how to control distance, right? So that's the reason why energy first, you gotta match your energy to distance, not about timing. It's never about timing, right? But you got 14 clubs, you say I got 14 clubs. Well, there's more than 14 distance. So, alright, so that will be the last question, right?
Yes.
Good. It was good. I mean, you know, we did something, it's productive, and hopefully people watching it.
Our English channel is growing every day, and sooner or later we will have full house.
Well,
And,
again, Jason, the problem, again, you know, we don't preach contact. We don't preach sweet spots.
yeah.
So, you know, once people say, man, what is this? Because it's almost like, again, you know, F4 golf, energy first golf, we're like the only person to say the earth is round. It's almost like back in the old days, people say, hey, earth is flat. No, we say, no, earth is round. This is how you proceed to live. So people is gonna be like, you know, most people think, Jason, probably think we're crazy anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really listen to what I'm saying to you, what Energy First Golf is telling you guys, if you really think about it, they're all correct. We have no contradictions. So, all right. Jason, you have a last word?
I guess just subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and check out our belts and gloves. And we also have one-on-one lessons.
Yes, thank you, Jason. But you know, if any of you want to get our gloves and the belts and our digital service, our swing analysis, or you know, even remote lessons via FaceTime or you know Skype or WeChat video, please contact Jason. We'll leave a link below. Jason, you know, I think they can contact you through Instagram, right? Or
Yeah, I mean, they know how to reach out to me, so.
yeah, so then, you know, we'll make the connection. So appreciate it. Thank you, Jason.
Alright.
All right.
That's good for today.
So we're going to wrap it up. So thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. All right? I appreciate it, guys. See you. How do I close it?
Just click end stream or whatever.